Alright folks, this past weekend I did something kind of bold. I left the homestead for 3 days with no animal sitters, no neighbor check-ins, no nothing. Just me trusting my setup and hoping and praying that the ducks didn't unionize the chickens while I was gone. We went down to Biloxi for a jiu-jitsu competition, and that's always a good time. But it's especially a good time when your daughter brings home enough gold and silver to make a pirate jealous. Now I know what you're thinking. You left your animals alone for 3 days with nobody to check on them while you went to the Gulf Coast to relax. That's unheard of. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I did. And here's what happened. Here's how I set everything up before I left. First stop, the rabbit colony. I filled the water to the brim and left 5 days worth of food in multiple containers. And just for peace of mind, I added an open top container of water because a high degree of redundancy is the engineering and homesteading way. And for the grow outs and the rabbit hutches, every bottle was topped off and the PVC pipe feeder was loaded. That setup alone could have lasted them around a week. But again, I added a 1 gallon chicken water because if something can go wrong, it usually waits until you're 200 miles away and nobody's watching. The chickens and ducks, they got a heavy feeding before we left. And I filled the galvanized gravity feeder to the top. Water's not a concern since they drink from the pond, and their only job in life is to free range, so they can find plenty of food by themselves. As for the dog, I hung his gravity feeder way up off the ground to keep it free of ants, but mostly to keep the ducks out of it. If you've never seen a duck eat dog food, it's like watching somebody with a bad attitude chew with their mouth open. And dog food is the most expensive feed I buy. And that dog is so disciplined in the well-being of these birds that he won't even nip at them if they're eating his food. He wants them protected at all costs. I think he's too nice for his own good. After being gone for 3 days, here's what we came home to. The rabbit colony, every bit of food was gone. 5 days worth, inhaled in 3 days. I dropped fresh pellets when we got back and they wasn't even interested in it. They was probably nursing a pellet hangover or something. Lesson learned number 1. If you give rabbits a buffet, they'll eat it. All of it. But here's the surprise. The bucket of water was still full, but the open top container, it was almost empty. It turns out rabbits prefer to drink like dogs rather than like rabbits. I made a short form video about this the other day and people were chiming in from all over the place saying how they got away from the water in bottles years ago and they've been watering them out of bowls forever. Now why in the world did I not know this? Have I been watering rabbits wrong this whole time? To make sure it wasn't a fluke, I headed over to the grow out hutches to check on them. And, well, same story. Plenty of food was still in there. All but 1 bottle was still full, but the chicken water was almost bone dry. Lesson learned number 2. Rabbits prefer water bowls above water bottles. And they've made that clear. Now the chickens and ducks, when we got back, they were pacing the fence like they'd been fasting for 3 days. The feeder was empty, and when I refilled it, it was chaos. Feathers flying, squawking, a full-blown feeding frenzy. How did a handful of chickens and 2 ducks eat 15 pounds of feed in 3 days? My guess is they hosted a dinner on the grounds with all the neighbors' chickens and plotted a takeover of the local feed mill. But that's just speculation. Lesson learned number 3, ration the chicken feed, because buffet-style feeding chickens is not good for the pocketbook. And it also sparked an idea that I had a while back, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. What about the dog? Well, the dog was the only one that behaved like he was supposed to. 3 days gone, he ate about 3 days worth of food. No drama, no hiccups, just a good dog doing his job. Man's best friend confirmed. So what did I learn while I was on vacation? Other than rabbits are gluttons and chickens and ducks are facetious, I learned that you can raise animals and still take time for yourself, if you're smart about it. Things can go wrong whether you're home or not, but automating parts of the homestead, like feeders and waters, gives you freedom. And speaking of automation, this whole chicken buffet fiasco reminded me of an old idea I had of putting a wild game spin feeder in the chicken yard to feed them maybe a couple of times a day. I'll have to dial in the timing by catching and measuring the feed output, but the goal is to have the ability to be 100% hands-free for 7 days at a time without worrying if my animals are taken care of or not. And it's not that I don't enjoy the daily grind of being out here and feeding and watering and tending to my animals every day. It's just that automation gives you something precious. Time. And not just time to leave for a weekend or go on vacation. Time to actually interact with your animals. Time to build infrastructure, time to hunt, fish, train jiu-jitsu, whatever you're into. Leaving for 3 days gave me more than a break. It gave me new ideas, it gave me a little bit of clarity, and a few belly aching rabbits. Now I didn't try to, but I've got some of y'all fooled accidentally into thinking that I know it all. And that's far from the truth. As long as we've been doing this, as long as we've been raising animals and living this way, I'm still learning as I go. And I've made it a point to bring those who want to follow along with me. And speaking of those who are following along, I've got something special for you who watch to the end. If you're in the market for chicken coops, wire fencing, laying boxes, honeybee equipment, milking machines, or anything like that, check the prices at garvey.com. And if you shop in the livestock and poultry supplies category, type in the code GIB10, capital GIB10, and get yourself 10% off. You don't need my link, just write that code down and keep it for when you're ready. Now I saved that for the ones who watch to the end. By now all the riffraff's done clicked off and they're gone. They can pay full price as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, until next time, God bless. We'll see you soon.